Welcome to the Third Eye Lounge for an evening of poetry, spoken word, and lyrical liquidity. This evening is in honor of water, and even more than that, it's in honor of our fluid nature, our liquid nature as beings. And it's essentially going to be an offering in honor of that aspect of ourselves that is cyclical, that is timeless, that is fluid. Throughout the evening, you're welcome to drink some water as we speak about water and the mystery, the living liquid mystery that is water. Feel free to actually drink from that fountain. This event this evening has been sponsored kindly and generously by a company called Alive Water, Alive Waters that I represent. And we bring people spring water to their homes in these beautiful handcrafted Italian glass jugs embossed with the flower of life and sacred geometry. And it's just untampered with, just precious, pure water from the earth that we transport and offer to people to help them just thrive and be nourished. And I've had the opportunity to deepen my relationship with water throughout this experience. We just entered the year of the water tiger in Chinese astrology. We were just in Aquarius a couple months back. There's a lot of, and then Pisces after that, Aquarius being the water bearer. So there's a lot of water in the field right now. And I've experienced what it's like as a human being to have that much water, gallons and gallons of water, flow through my energy system, right? So all of the water that's coming to these people's homes is moving through me, coming from the earth, going directly through me. I'm like, could cry right now. I'm this bridge for this incredible liquid that is the most essential building block of human life and life on this planet, secondary only to air, right? And in order for all of us to be here on this night in celebration and reverence, we've had to consistently imbibe this element every day of our lives, unless we're going water fast, or dry fast, I mean. So all this to say, water is really the star of this show because water drives all of us as living technology, as biological technologies. Water is at the driving seat of consciousness and forward. So, no big deal, just water. So everybody please welcome Luke Cohen to the stage.
In my opinion, water is the most sacred element of life. Can y'all say mini wichoni? Mini wichoni. Water is life. We all come from it, right? So I don't have a poem that's finished yet about water, so I'm going to read some pieces that I have, but the idea, I know that Gabriel has it, is like the flow, right? The poetry is water, right? So this first piece is called I Am Soul. Just take a deep breath, and maybe take a moment to go inward and just feel the geometry of this room, all these souls that are here that have never been in the same place before. I am not the man you see, nor the clothes that adorn this body. I am not the cultural agreements of what to say or how to behave. I am not who or what you think I am. I am soul. I'm not polite because I have to be. I am kind because I choose to be. Courageously compassionate, I am soul. I choose to not be bound by the unspoken agreements made in the invisible space that says I have to in order to be or become something in society because I am soul. I am not my money. I am not my possessions. I am not my thoughts or even the impulses of this body. I am soul. I am not a saint and I am not a sinner. I am not religion or ideologies. I am not dogma or political policies. I am not even my beliefs or what I have previously identified with. I am soul. I have traversed lifetimes, seen and felt the highest highs and lowest lows, loss and attainment come and go, grief as deep as uncharted oceans and bliss beyond conception. I have cried rivers and loved as fierce as storms that shake the foundations of buildings that reaches through time and space, no longer forgetful, doubtful, or fearful. I am soul. I am not hiding nor compromising. I am not complying nor overriding my intuitive flow. I am soul, a spark, a flame of the greater light, and I am presence, as are you. I am beyond labels, boxes defined by the worlds of man, by institutions that would reduce spirit to matter, human to object, and earth to ownership. I am life. I am ancient intelligence and light, and I shall forever be. I am soul. I am the winds of continuity that mirrors the cycles that reach through all seasons ceaseless. I am change. I am expression. I am creativity, emotion, energy, and motion. I am medicine. I am connected to the source of love itself. I am soul. And all of me that has ever existed cannot be destroyed, only transformed. I am the ancestors' remainders and reminders of forgotten wisdom. I am knowledge of the celestial kingdoms and underworlds, the caverns of consciousness on earth to refine and help steer our evolution. I am from the stars that still shimmer songs of creation and from the fires that transmute all suffering. I am from the lakes and streams that reflect life-affirming principles, the quietude of the desert, contemplative and empty. I am the bustling aliveness, symbiotic dynamic of jungles and forests, the thread of interconnectedness that weaves through all ecosystems. I am the strength of mountains, majestic and vast as sky. I am the picture that is painted when the mind is open wide. I am soul. I cannot be depicted, only alluded to. I cannot be confined to limited perspectives grasped by personality, but experienced and lived into. I am soul. I belong to the infinite, however I arrive in the here and now. I am the extension of the mysteries that long to run to the heart of the human spirit, beyond all appearances, beyond all divides, the illusions of separation and control. I am soul. Okay. It's always darkest before the dawn. We were born for these times with a song in our hearts, precision in our minds, unified or separated by design. While millions march, much more than a million-man march, people carrying torches, standing on the shoulders of giants. A lot more going on in the streets than just riots. And I'm glad that the face of this movement is beautiful blackness. The tip of the spear to rip through the madness. It's about time we collectively confront the systems of oppression that have long been established, and not just a time to take action if the actions we take are exactly where they want us to act from. Like moving into battle not knowing your enemy, the ones in the shadows pulling strings of deception, justify more force and martial law. You need to hear this. With all love and respect, I stand in solidarity. Got to get some things off my chest as they become apparent to me. George Floyd was murdered, gave us a mantra, I can't breathe. Now everybody's screaming, I can't breathe. Masks tightly fashioned, all this in the midst of a man-made disease that targets the lungs where we hold grief. If words or spells and affirmations co-create reality, couldn't we be saying, we can breathe, or justice shall prevail, or something that creates a new narrative? Because these spells shall to give clout to the magnetic forces of the universe to bring them about. Maybe part of why we can't breathe is the lack of all the trees and the chemicals they've been spraying on all of us since '93. The lungs of our Mother Earth being scorched by the same forces of tyranny. And indigenous people have been getting wiped out before all this and are still being murdered and attacked without any coverage from national TV, all moving parts in the same divide and conquer strategy. They're corralling the energy. This is for those who have eyes to see, because the elites are colorblind. All they see is sheep. You need to hear this. And for those more inclined to conspiracies, that's no excuse to have a lack of empathy for the realities of white supremacy, colonization, and those subjected to its brutalities and inequalities. Got a lot of friends that need to come to terms with this reality. You need to hear this. Listen. Slave trade, byproducts of war and expanding industry. Africans selling Africans dehumanized like infantry. A once great nation whittled down with only remaining perspectives of conquerors. Black skin on many continents written out of history. Probably never heard of the Olmec, Muskogee, Seminole, or Yawasi. Many native tribes had more than red skin, and those rewriting history were betting on all of us not being kindred. So yes, Black lives matter, but we gotta smash lives faster. Mother Earth facing disaster or rebirth, depending on where we act from. You need to hear this. Real talk. I'm here to respot the dialogue between John Lennon and Huey P. Newton. How the CIA brought crack into the ghettos and rap culture propagated that dope game. And a whole bunch of MCs sold their own soul for fame. Black Panthers split into Bloods and Crips. Infiltration tactics to equip to quit. And Nipsey got clipped not just for unifying gang, but for making a documentary about Dr. Sebi, natural foods and remedies, one of the greatest acts of being revolutionary in an age of big pharma legacies dating back to Nazi Germany. You need to hear this. Every race had lost souls, betrayed by their own kind. Ego is ego, as evil, that plague too is colorblind. You need to hear this. Yes, I have privilege, white skin, rainbow aura, ancestors of many lineages, rebel soul of a mystic Shambhala warrior. Been here for the good fight and I'm standing with all of y'all. This is World War III, a war of ideologies funded into echo chambers, group thought and polarity, divide and conquer strategies way before the US became the land of the so-called free. From the Black Hills to Chumash lands in California, from the streets of NYC to Minneapolis to Australia, Hawaii to New Zealand to Mama Africa, this shit goes back to the Roman Empire and old days of Egypt, back when they conquered the Germanic tribes of Europe, infiltrating Ireland, genociding most of the Druids, dispersing the Essenes into visions and dreams, systematic execution and persecution of pagan magic. Most of the Earth's tribes were uprooted by the establishment, and that, my friends, is generational assimilation, loss of languages, knowledge, and practices of our ancestors. It's an old game. Bones change, but the stories remain the same. All the sacred mountains in the world will attest to this. No more manifest destiny. We can manifest destiny with the words and prayers we speak, songs we sing, poems we say, how we hold each other and the light we bring, the gifts we give. And remember, the greatest gift lives inside, which is love. My war paint turned to peaceful rhymes, dispersed to frequencies that seek divide, each unique, each with pride. Black corn people, red corn people, yellow corn people, white corn people. I do not consent to oppression, racism, or fascism, totalitarian agendas that would render us half alive and half driven. No, rather I recommit to the one world tree of Black Elk's prophecy, the fifth son of the Hopi, the new Baktun of the Maya, and the greatest visions of Ethiopia's seers. We all share the same mother, Earth, that makes us related. Decolonize the mind and burn up all remaining hatred. It's time to face this wave of change if we embrace it. And maybe it's not about tearing the old system down anymore, but building the new one together, starting now.
Yeah, everybody, welcome to the stage, Lume.
Every time before I get up on stage, no matter how many people in the room, I sweat my ass off. Oh, I'm so nervous.
Water, baby.
Hi everyone, my name is Lume. It's so lovely to see you all. I'm going to read a few poems that have no necessary story arc. They're all kind of all over the place, but just different things that I felt like I wanted to read. A theme of my life recently has been being human. Isn't that so simple? I find that in my journey, I was trying so hard to be a spiritual person that I forgot to be human. And so I'm going to read a few poems that I have written about my experience with what it means for me to be human. Except the first one I'm going to read is about water. And I wrote this poem today, and I just trust my own creative process now that every time I have a prompt, it's not gonna go how I think it's gonna go. So this one is called The Nectar of Eve. Water her. No, I don't mean with your Whole Foods store-bought water. No, I don't mean with your crystalline, structured 11.5 pH, thrice filtered in a machine. No, slow down, water her. It's a bit entitled to believe that the world needs saving, no? A bit patriarchal to think that a 4.5 billion year old mother needs our intervention. As if she isn't strong enough to unpollute herself. As if her hands haven't held millions of bloodied heads. As if her pussy is not capable of rebalancing her own pH. Can we accept the natural cycles of a womb and go about our day? Can we learn to tolerate our own discomfort instead of trying to control women's bodies? You see, watering her is different than saving her. The former assumes us humble visitors. The latter assumes we know better than a 4.5 billion year old mother. Oh, right. You're new here, she says. Sit the fuck down. Just water my belly once in a while. My records show I've got this under control. Thank you. This one is called, where did it go? Pardon me. This one is called We Are All Gods Until the House Catches Fire. Whew. Growing up in the church, I used to believe I was less than God. A woman, only half a man, a woman sitting in the back row, a woman sinful spawn of the flesh, a woman lesser than the best, me, more fucked than the rest. I am 22 years old, and at this time in my life, I tell the pastor, I am leaving this religion of white American cheap Folgers drinking Jesus, only to find myself 4 years later in the same predicament. Only this time, I believe I'm more than human, a God reincarnated to save the world from its low vibrational suitors. Some crystal-toting shaman tarot reader speaks surely. I was Isis in a past life. I believe I am God until I find my mother unconscious in her bed, a child staring at the face of death. I believe I am God until it is 4 a.m. and the trembling in my chest jolts me awake. I am powerless. I believe I am God until I stumble to a 12-step meeting, utterly helpless to gain control over my own life. I believe I am God until even my charged amethyst crystal couldn't seem to get me to tell the truth. The scars on my legs are buried proof that I am not God, nor do I desire to be God. What a hell of a job it must be to control the waves of the sea, lasso the moon around the planet every night, to know the name of every bird in flight, keep Mother Earth and every child upright. Instead, I ask the wind to bring me to my knees, knock me over like a rotten tree, dust me down as nimble as the sand in the sea, show me just how powerless and wretched I be. That I may relinquish my addictive fiending for power and validation and control. Could it be there is no loophole, no cheat code, no esoteric download that can shortcut this human experience? Could it be that power lies in bowing humbly at the altar of the deepest existential questions no flesh and bone is suited to answer? Like, why does evil exist? And does it serve a purpose? And where do we really go when we die? And I'm not talking a mushroom trip die. I'm talking about when our bodies die. And where was my mother's soul when the doctor stole her eyes? And where in the world is this world really headed? Where does the ocean of consciousness end? Where do I begin? You see, I find it more wise to be curious than it is to be certain. I am not God, and thank God I don't have to bear that burden. Thank you. Now I'm going to talk about, or read some poems about my relationship with men. We're going to get a little cheeky here. This one is called An Unfinished Poem. Little context, I too was living in New York City. I'm not from there, like Luke is, but I was living there at the time. I wrote this poem about a year ago, and I find it still to be true for me to this day. I excelled as an artist in the art of pretending. For a long time, I was an actor in the story of my life, playing a role of whatever was deemed most notable by the director. And by the director, I mean the patriarchal influence that's injected itself into the very fabric of my being. You see, my first vaccine as a child was the male opinion. The first time I got sick, the doctor sent me home and told me to just swallow a tablespoon of cum, because as for women, a man seems to be the cure for everything. But really, I was playing a character that my patterns and addictions casted. Characters that the women before me won Emmys for. Bravo, bravo. Here, a gold trophy for revolving your decisions around our opinions. I won an award, I decided. 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the most crowded one because the other option was where crazy, unstable women walked, because it was easier to read from their script and follow their footprints than it was to write and create my own. I've swallowed so much fucking cum in my life, I forgot what my own spit tastes like. It's created an entire ocean of its own that used to be my brain. I cannot hear my own thoughts, make my own decisions, or dream my own visions. But the problem is not that men can own us anymore. The problem is that we are handcuffed to our own mental prisons. We are more free than ever, yet stay in self-imposed boxes because it's safer to be suffocated. Is my personality really me? Or is it a sum of choices I have made to be attractive to men? Am I doomed to live a life of pretend with a cum-soaked brain? Because what am I living for if it is not to spread my legs? I don't know the answers to these questions. And that's why this is an unfinished poem. I can't write the ending until I learn to live it first. This one is called The Night I Trimmed My Nipple Hair with Kitchen Scissors. Okay, how y'all doing? I trim my nipple hair with kitchen scissors before he arrives and the atmosphere deoxygenates itself. Every fruit tree disappears into a microscopic black hole. A giant swallows the ocean. I wax my asshole before I let him inside me, and mirrors in the city shatter into a million pieces. Children with bare feet cut their toes on glass. Thick gray dust coats the sky. I don't want to be lonely. It hurts, but I don't tell him to stop, and my mother is sick over the phone. A woman in Harlem is thrown into a back alley. 500,000 humans die of hunger. It started with an Uber drive. Pardon me. 500,000 humans die of hunger. One day I am staring at myself in the mirror, wondering if Joan of Arc also felt like her dick is bigger than the men that surrounded her. It started with an Uber drive. I tell the driver, please turn off the music. I tell the driver, no, you cannot come home with me. I tell the driver to please stop talking. I need silence. The fabric of reality tears when one woman remembers her worth. This evening I tell a lover, you're not my person. And tomorrow the Bermuda Triangle returns Amelia Earhart. Every piece of trash into the sea morphs into a short-tailed dove. The CDC now recommends everyone eat kale and mind their own goddamn business. This will not work for me. The next day, Maya Angelou appears on my refrigerator. The U.S. federally mandates sequined cowboy hats. Police wear pink satin ruffles and pull people over for ice cream cones. No, I do not want you inside of me. ISIS hovers over my bed. It rains rose petals for an entire year. Joe Biden finally admits that he is a clone. Every government official turns into a Pomeranian puppy. Taxes go to flowers on every corner, and the circus and bullet trains instead of war. No, I do not want you. Mary Magdalene hands me a joint. Mary Oliver claps in her grave. Rosa Parks slaps my ass. Everyone cheers, except for him. Instead, he asks if we can still fuck, though. I know you think this is a poem about hating men. That's your prerogative. I love men. It's just that one day I learned the word no. Instantaneously, my dick grew while his shriveled. Thank you. I have two more that I'm going to read. This one is called Fungi Feelings. And this also has to do with my journey back to being a human being. Before I soar into oblivion, may I master steadiness, 10 toes firmly rooted into the soil below me. You see, there are tens and thousands of children that pass by my door every day. A flock of geese sing in a bod outside my window. A spider hangs the moon every night. Meanwhile, I'm inside with goggles over my eyes, asking some guru, asking some fucking guy, asking someone else's God for the answers. How to heal from what? Being alive? You see, I paid $10,000 for a life coach, okay? I asked him to tell me all of the mysterious knowledge he knows so I can become more than human and manifest every single thing I want in my life. And I come to the conclusion that, I should probably just drink some water or a beer or a tequila and call my grandmother and chill the fuck out. Meanwhile, Spirit's been speaking through the birds, through Miranda Lambert and turkey feathers on my dashboard, through the canvas of the sun, its stringing quartet at dawn, homeless men and their cigarette incense graffitied walls, through the unwritten letters choking on tears, afraid to drown in a pile of women pressing roses over their womb, throwing cheap crystals at their mother's tomb. Meanwhile, I am too plugged in, too focused on quantum leaping and manifesting the next up level and figuring out that I was for sure an Egyptian or a Lemurian priestess in a past life. Meanwhile, the food in my fridge is rotting. And my nephew is a year older, and my grandfather tells me how alone he feels. Meanwhile, my mother is tracing another wrinkle on her forehead. You see, there is a plethora of gardens here, asking for my tending. Who gives a flying fuck what planet I came from if I cannot learn how to take care of and be on this one? There are questions waiting to be asked and asked again until I get to the root of it. My only job is to surrender to the infinite mystery. No meditation teacher, no coach, no proclaimed master can teach me how to live the life that is mine to live. We try so hard to be spiritual. I'm afraid we have forgotten what it means to be human after all. Spirit doesn't have to announce itself. It just is. Thank you. Last one. Everybody feeling okay? This one is called Here to Stay. Honey, you cannot pray away your humanness, or ayahuasca your way to heaven, or meditate your way out of the burdens that you decided to bear when you put on this skin, and what precious burdens they are. Paul the neighbor could use a hug. But what star did he come from? Is he soul family? Paul the neighbor could use some money to feed his children, but does he speak light language? Paul the neighbor could use a hand, but does he know the earth is flat? Does he know that I actually can't go outside because there's a lot of EMF and radiation and the Wi-Fi is gonna fuck up my brain? Paul the neighbor is bleeding out. But does he know that his soul chose this? Should I ask him why his small intestine manifested a kiss from the concrete? Sorry, Paul. I know your guts have spilled onto the ground and your family is starving, but I can't get my hands dirty. You know, the energetics are just not pristine here. Maybe a virtual sound bath will help? Were Jesus' hands manicured when he flipped tables? No. His boots were on the ground, fingernails in the scum of the earth, on the pulse of every broken heart, walking in rhythm with the lepers. We did not descend into flesh and bone to manifest our way out of it. And God damn it, I will not live a life in vain. I will not live a life of luxurious escape. I am here to stay. I am here to stay. Thank you. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Gabriel, for having me. My Instagram is Illuminate Lume. I would love to connect with all of you on there. Thank you so much for receiving my words.
So everybody please welcome to the stage my new friend, Ra James.
Aloha. What does kismet mean?
Like fate.
Yeah, I'm curious what the word means too. Like kismet. Been really diving into language a lot recently, and with language, diving into time. So this first old new poem, one and the same really, is called Past Lives. Wrote this on a cliff in Arcata, California, cruising south with my beloved Marissa, who's cold over there in the dress and the hat. So I'm going to use this as a brain stretcher, you know, stretch the brain a little bit before I come in with the wata, the aqueduct. And Lume mentioned past lives too, so, you know, weave it. If time is non-linear, meaning not continuously moving in one direction, why do we think past lives are past? What does the past even mean when the universe is repeatless and time merely a construct of the human mind? Could aliens be our future selves? Could we reincarnate into a time before we were born now? We have this idea of evolution, like it needs to move forward, but all at the same time we're moving backward and never even moving at all. Perhaps I could be reborn into ancient Egypt as a pharaoh that was never written about in history, and all of these past life regressions that I've been having are actually not backwards at all, but forward into another dimension. Neither past nor future, neither here nor there, but everywhere and nowhere in the ever-present mind of God. And likewise, water, timeless, just like the fire. We're talking about portals. So for me, what a portal means is something that enables us to enter into non-linearity, where you can enter into a different space and time simultaneously, which is in the exact same place and time that you're in. And I think water does that. So this is my poem about wata. Written for this event. I don't know when I did it though. Maybe now. Water is life. You are alive. By the associated property, that means you are water. But you just forgot.
That's okay. Today's about remembering. Just like the planet is around 71% water, so they say, so too is your body. The vertical waters of the rains nourish the horizontal waters of your veins. Do you remember to thank the water every morning as you awake from your dreamscape and quench your thirst with that unconditional love? Do you remember to thank the water when you drink it? Water is the definition of unconditional love. It doesn't require you to be rich or good looking or smart or funny in order for you to be nourished by it. It needs nothing from us but our reverence and protection. If you love something, you protect it, right? So when did we forget how to love? Did you know that you can place intentions in water? Like Masaru Emoto studied, human consciousness affects the molecular structure of water. In the alive water jug, or with that gentle hug, with your own thoughts, how are you affecting your own internal waters? We forgot how to speak. Our words have become empty and confused. We have been imprisoned into a lower vibration of duality, of right and wrong, good and bad, happy and sad, life and death. None of these actually exist in the flow of water. You remember how our thoughts affect the shape of water? So how are you currently shaping your vessel through your thoughts? What sort of dams are you constructing that affect the hydrology of your soul? What sort of pollutants are you dumping in your waters through what you consume in food, friends, ideas, beliefs? Don't dam up your waters by being caught in the future or the past. That's another duality that'll confuse you real fast, because water doesn't plan to carve out valleys. It just moves in the gradient towards the source of itself. And as we look around in the supported external world around us, we see large-scale dams and dying salmon. We see plastic-filled beaches and oceans stained with oil spilling from the black snake drilling. We see sludge dumped in lakes and the Amazon River filled with pharmaceutical runoff. And our ancestors have called the indigenous people of the planet savages. Yet they had clean water and organic, delicious food and bounties unimaginable, and they had peace. There is no way to say that what we have is civilization when we are unable to keep our waters clean and our food full of nourishment. It's easy to see why now our world is disintegrating. We're disintegrated. We have forgotten our own connection with water because our war on life is a war on water. It's time to make way for the water. It's time to remember how pitiful we are. Not pitiful like, oh, have pity on me, but pitiful in the sense that we are completely reliant on this reservoir of the natural world for our joys and our scars. The fact we've forgotten that we are dependent on life to survive, how bizarre. These technological giants innovating out of life feels thick and greasy like tar as they char the earth with their colonist staff like Jafar. It is a time to become more fluid, not like some dogmatic mind ruined by lies, but more like a druid suited and rooted with the recognition of all life included, at least as much as I've alluded through my heart's computational renewal. The tribe of Judah and Buddha reviewed it and knew it with its food stayed unpolluted. They didn't loot the crude with their moods or loot desires that conquered their own mother. They couldn't. They knew better. They understood that life is the treasure that cannot even be measured. It has no price, for things only have worth in time. And time is an illusion of the human mind. So all of our lives are priceless, and since our lives are water intertwined like a passion fruit vine, weaving and snaking its way up the cosmic design like a fecund shrine of beauty and colorful offerings to water herself, then what's the point of just sitting back and recline as the world continues to assign life to her death through this unintentional maligned idolatry that rips us apart from what is truly benign? Get off your ass and expand your mind. Stop taking orders from the heart. Start taking orders from the heart. Start taking orders from the heart instead of what's been confined to you by the walking blind of society so empty and bereft of value that their hungry ghost-like world, the swine insatiable digging truffles out from the pines. The word for water in Nahuatl is at, or atl, A-T-L. It's in the name of the people, Nahuatl. It is also in the name of Atlantis, Atl. And all of your foods that you eat today Like tomato is actually tomati. Potato is actually potat. Avocado is aguacat. Chocolate is chocolate. Y'all third eye know that? Chocolate's the water. So don't get lost in semantics. Start to relearn language so you can diss these disconnected antics. Become true romantics, for we are all in love all of the time, being kept alive by our ancestors that are not in human form. If you are in love, why are you asleep? How could the fish in the water claim to be so thirsty? You must understand this to expand this. You must become disadvantaged because you forgot how to plant this. What do you give back to that which keeps you alive? Take a look from that vantage. Do you actually feel gratitude, or is it some sort of spiritual expansion? Don't get confused and think that human isn't divine. That's where all this new age shit's completely blind. It's on the right path, but with blindfolds on, trying to escape the earth and transcend, when the true spiritual mastery is learning how to tend to life, to cultivate your own culture through intentionality, not to comprehend the mysteries of oneness. You can't do that with your mind. It's a great tool, but should be a worker bee supporting the Queen of Hearts. Do you comprehend? You cannot ascend until you become fully human again. So let me lend you a hand. Forget all your plans. It's time to reorient your relationship to the land and to the water. And now you can't pretend that I didn't tell you. Once you hear it, it'll never go away. How can you be a life coach if you don't even know about life? This is what I call regeneration. Really what that means is becoming human again. We've forgotten what it is to be human. The word human comes from the word humus, which means earth or ground. When's the last time you put your fingers in the dirt and got clean? When's the last time you thanked the water in your morning shower scene? Or the beauty of a flower, or the rolling hills of green? Or the fluid that is your blood and tissues as you go through your routine? Here's a gene key for your fancy genes. Go submarine within your spleen to witness the unseen cuisine that you feast on to stay lean. Reconvene with the Holocene, my dearest tangerine. This amnesia and anesthesia is already all foreseen by the ancestors 500 years ago. That's now. Anyway, that's enough of me intervening today in this divine play. There's Leela that I dance in every single day. Like Neo in the Matrix, while people think I'm just some dude walking down to the poetry slam to slay. When actually all I do is pray, because I've become the walking prayer. Remember, you are water, my friends, so stay thirsty for truth and life, and I guarantee you that you never waste a day. I have a couple more, but that one was pretty good, so. Thank you, water, for that saliva. Every single morning now, I feel it when I drink the water a lot. In the shower. I can't even not say thank you anymore in the shower. It's pretty cool. What do you think, Marissa? One or two more? One more? This kind of water-y. I wrote this on a beach in Oregon. It's about forgiveness, really. And now that I'm thinking about it, forgiveness is really like water, because what you're doing is relinquishing the attachment or the gripping of something that's in the past. So to forgive, you have to be fluid. Therefore, you must be like water. So yeah, this one fits. If I validate it to myself. None of these have titles, except for the first one. Whoever told you that life is too serious to dance along where the ocean meets the land? Whoever told you that life is too much of a drag to wake up in the morning with a smile on your face for the simple fact that you're alive? Whoever told you that you don't have value by simply being yourself? Whoever told you that you should be perfect instead of being beautifully, uniquely you? Whoever told you that you weren't enough when we are life itself embodied in flesh? Whoever told you that you were too much, when of your soul essence there is no such thing. Whoever did that, forgive them and have compassion for them. For surely they don't dance along the ocean's shores, or wake up in the morning with a smile on their face, or honor the deepest parts of themselves waiting to be expressed, or feel beautiful without doing a thing, or have gratitude for their very breath that keeps them alive, or sit in awe of the spirit coursing through their veins. But you do. You do. Peace.
Sacred meridians tremble with the remembering of emptiness. Letting in the gentle breath of resonance as elephants tread upon the thread connecting everything to everything. Feathers shed from predators to bless the kings. Headdress, meditating medicine of centered beings. Centuries of sensual caressing, and it never seems to cease. The seamless weaving of the seasons into strands, the ever-present beating of the seasons into strands, the ever-present bleeding of the genius of the sap that's essentially cohesive as the scenery and land stands effortlessly, elegantly, reading like a map that assembles the identity of present leaving past, and I'm humbled. This immensity, it isn't even vast, it is actually endless, and I'm baffled by the fact that this is happening. These atoms interacting as they do, as this fascinating magnetism wraps us in its glue. It's amazing. All I have to offer is my gratitude, and thankfully, that's all the ever after ever asks of you. I mean, can you imagine? We were granted us a planet. We were wrapped within this fabric of a majesty and magic that is massive and expansive as it's minuscule and small. Now, have we ever stopped to ask why we were given this at all? Because I have, and I have gathered that I'll likely never know how the panthers and the mastodons, the lightning and the snow fit together like the patterns of dismantling and growth, how the lantern works in tandem with the shadows as it glows, and I'm home as I give into this soul that erodes me and holds me slowly and shows me that old me is no thing. Nothing but a rose unfolding. Nothing but a multicolored lotus petal poem singing odes to the soul that never grows old, just blows to the rhythm of the wind. And I'm so freaking honored. I'm blessed. I'm honestly impressed. I wish that there was more than I can offer than my breath. But I guess that everything I am must be enough. So I'm gonna put these hands to work to plant the seeds beneath the mud. I'm gonna feed my uncles, aunties, mothers, brothers, cousins, sons, fathers, daughters, water, blood. And if that is not enough, I'm gonna sing and I'm gonna rap and I don't know, just trust. And the power of the sun, in the grandeur of the sky. And if that is not the answer, I'll collapse and I will die, because I am not afraid, because I am not the end. I'm a latest on a chain of my descendants. I was sent as a messenger of God to remind us who we are. We are vibrant and kaleidoscopic spirals made of stars. Take a step out of your head and take a step into your heart. And remember that the presence where the revelation starts.
Just take a step out of your head and take a step into your heart. And remember that the present is a sacred word.